Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Northeast Coastal and Ocean Data Partnership webinar series. Today we have Lenore Bajona from the Ocean Tracking Network. Lenore is the Director of Data Management at the Ocean Tracking Network Data Center. And Lenore is going to talk about the Ocean Tracking Network, give us a brief overview of the network, also talk about the data center workflow, including data access, sharing. She's also going to talk about some of the challenges they faced and some of the future challenges. All right, so I'll turn it over to you, Lenore.
Thank you, Tom. Let's say thank you for inviting me to present this webinar. I'm looking forward to listening to some of the future ones. This is a fairly new thing you guys started, so I look forward to it. My name is Lenore Bajona. I'm the Director of Data Management for the Ocean Tracking Network. What is the Ocean Tracking Network, aka OTN, the Global Research and Technology Development Initiative? It's estimated $160 million, including all in kind. We got $35 million from the Kenya Foundation for Innovation and $10 million from NSERC. What does OTN do? OTN is a unique ocean observing system. We use acoustic and satellite telemetry to document the movements and survival of aquatic animals and their environment correlates. Policy relevant information is used to inform fisheries management, protect public safety, and biodiversity conservation for marine reserve planning, impact assessments, etc. We tag animals from 5 centimeters in length to larger, ranging from jellyfish to white sharks to whales. We also have biopros, which are gray seals equipped with satellite link acoustic receivers, who are also carrying sensors, so they're actually measuring the ocean variables at the same time as telling us where they are. OTN is a biological observing system of the UN's Global Ocean Observing System. I'm not going to go into detail on the infrastructure and funding personnel, but the information is there if anybody is interested. The Ocean Tracking Network since 2008 has been tracking local and global movement and survival of ocean animals using acoustic and satellite telemetry. We use operating at passive acoustic moorings. We have acoustic receivers and generally spaced 800 meters apart. We use both satellite and acoustic. Oceanographic variables are measured by sensors on tagged animals and then transmitted satellites in space. Lines of receivers and other oceanographic equipment on the ocean floor are offloaded by modem to robotic submarines called gliders or recovered and offloaded. Currently, we mostly do receivers by recovery and offloading. We're just now underway and using wave gliders, so an autonomous vehicle to go and offload the data and saving a lot in vessel time and human resources. We have templates for people to provide us with metadata on deployments. We prefer if they use that, and if they're OTN participants, they are using them. But if we have a lot of data collaborators who have their own formats and we ingest whatever form it's in. We also are doing acoustic tags to surgically implanted into fish. The life of the tags depend on the size of the battery. They range from 3 months to 5 years. On the left is a salmon smolt, and on the right is a bluefin tuna. Receivers, as I already mentioned, have to be offloaded before we have detections in most cases, because this is not satellite. We also have templates for tagging metadata, which is what most people provide for us. Where are we working? Well, it's global. As of 2013, Demco, who is a Halifax distributor of these acoustic equipment, had sold over 20,000 receivers. And OTN has information on 3,100 of these. If you look at this map, the red areas are areas that Demco has told us that they've sold receivers in that area, but we don't have any information on those areas. So we still have a gap to continue asking for data. Our data warehousing includes historic and current data. We have over 91 million detection records. 60 million are animal detections. The rest are test sentinel tags. Over 200 collections. We're standards-based. The managers here, data managers at the Dalhousie University, are making this data available, freely accessible, without charge to the broader scientific community, but also respecting the intellectual properties of its providers. 90% of these data are from non-OTN funded contributors. So we haven't given them equipment, but they're giving us the data so that we can map in a global arena. OTN's original 2008 data policy was modeled on the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development 2006 Principles and Guidelines for Access research data. Much has changed since 2008, especially with regards to the evolution of national and international standards for data sharing. In 2011, the Canadian Research Data Summit resulted in a unified position of Canadian funding agencies, including OTN's principal funders, the Canadian Foundation for Innovation, Natural Sciences and Energy Research Council, and the Social Sciences and Health Research Council. That required that all data from publicly funded research be made openly available in a timely manner. Meeting the standard will be a condition for all grantees to maintain funding from these agencies. However, it is also anticipated that there may be exceptions to the policy provided in some circumstances that permit investigators to restrict access to data for limited periods. Examples from the OTN context include refraining from reporting location information on endangered species that network investigators are tracking in order to protect the animals from illegal harvesting, and protecting thesis data for highly qualified personnel who are in training. In anticipation of this, OTN has provided a revised policy, which is on our website, but it generally is what's up there on the screen. Other things we have to keep in mind is that there are international partners who may have different and legally enshrined data access policies, so we will have to do some negotiation with them to deal with their data policies. And we definitely have to start implementing digital object identifiers to start making it much easier to access and find our data. We recently formed the International Data Management Committee. We had our first meeting in March of this year, and our first face-to-face meeting, which that's a picture of this past June. And basically, we're trying to hit different regions and different scientific types. So we have oceanographer, data manager, a biologist, that kind of thing, so that they can oversee our plans for moving ahead, especially in products from the Ocean Tracking Network Data Center. We're hoping to revise a lot of the documents that we had done up over the previous years with the future vision from these other European and other nations that may have a better view of what the world wants. That's part of the problem with being the data management not director, but just being part of data management is trying to figure out what products people actually want, because you think you know, and then you make them, and then no one uses them. So we're hoping that this committee can help us move forward on that. This is our workflow for our internal telemetry data. So on the left, we have basically they're all ASCII files. There's those template files I showed that we have up on our website for metadata for tagging and metadata for deployment. View is the software Venco gives you to convert the detection files into ASCII so that we can load them into our database. We load them into, we load it into raw tables. We then process them, basically typecasting, make sure a gate is an actual valid gate. And then we use the Ocean Biographic Information System schema, which is Darwin Core Plus. And we roll that up into one single schema so that all the data can be searched and found in one location. And from there, we create GIS views because we have a post-GIS installed on our server. We use GeoServer to display our data, so we have a Google Earth and CSV and KML products. And I'm not going to go over all the numbers. We're not huge. I mean, we have 91 million detections, but that's a small thing compared to oceanographic data sets. One of the things that we're looking in is developing of nodes. And the intent here is that as we start getting more and more data, the volume is just getting out of hand for the 2 or 3 people in our data shop to handle. So we were trying to develop nodes that can be moved to a local infrastructure and data management. So someone in the Northeast Pacific accustomed to the data out there and the kind of animals that are out there and their Latin lungs, it would be really obvious to them if something is wacky because they're used to it in their environment. We'd like them to be taking over the data management. Unfortunately, we've managed to do the infrastructure as a separate database, so we haven't been able to find data management for the Northeast Pacific. South Africa, we actually are. They have done a temporary install, the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity. We're hoping to finish that up this next month. And that'll be the first one that actually will not be running on site at Dalhousie University. DFO Canada as well, telemetry projects, and collaborators have been and are encouraged to provide their data to OTN. So basically OTN is the telemetry data center for DFO Canada. This diagram is from July 2012, so it's some of it's out of date, but basically these are all the types of places we're aware of who are doing telemetry data. All the white ones, we're not in contact with them yet. The post was the Pacific Ocean Self-Tracking that we took over 2 years ago. It's just showing where we think we're going. And again, this is going to change now that I have a management committee to help me guide this. This was part of the last presentation, I believe, that was done by Ann Sharon, but it's regarding the Atlantic Coastal Zone Information Steering Committee Information Accessibility Benchmark. Basically, we want to use their self-assessment tool to continue developing and monitoring our organization's policies and procedures for providing effective and easy access to data. And we have just started using it. It's still in a beta mode. And Bob Bratton, the former director of Data Management Ocean Tracking Network, is actually presenting on this, an extended view of it, at the CoData Symposium in Delhi in November. There are issues with making data public, lots of issues. Acoustic telemetry presents interesting data policy issues because it involves an inherent conflict between the interests of trackers, the people who tag the animals, who generally want to keep their data private until they have had time to publish, and that of the receiver line, array operators, who are generally required by their funders to make data public as soon as possible. Both parties need each other. Trackers need detections from receiver arrays in order to make conclusions about the behavior of the species they tag, and the line operators need the trackers to make useful discoveries in order to justify the cost of the line's funding agencies. Nearly all of the researchers on both sides agree that it is desirable for all tracking data to be maintained for posterity and eventually to become fully public. The policies arrived at by OTN and previously by POST are compromises that attempt to allow sufficient time for taggers to publish their work while satisfying the funders of receiver arrays. In practice, the data policies of POST and OTN have worked well, although they have not been universally accepted. A few subtle points are important to the long-term success of such policies. Number one, requiring tracking metadata to be submitted immediately while enabling trackers to keep those data temporarily private, while it makes less likely that the data will be lost as trackers move on to other projects, queries, and jobs. Number two, requesting equipment specifications directly from the manufacturer greatly improves the ability of databases to acquire and keep important equipment specifications together with tag release metadata. And three, it is important to maintain flexibility to deal with individual cases, since researchers may need to keep a list of non-standard data fields private or to modify the length or quality of private data periods under some circumstances. So basically, we have what we call an embargo period, and that is 2 years after the life expectancy ending of a tag is the default release of tags, metadata, and tagging detections associated. However, we do ask if there are special circumstances that projects have for wanting to hold it longer, if they could just tell us when and how long and why, we can put it in our database as we have fields for tracking when something will become public. And then we can show the funders, the Canadian Foundation for Innovation, etc., that there's every intention of making all the data public, and here are the dates when they will be made public, and we believe this will make everybody happy in the end. We're still working on this. We've only received 9 requests out of 107 projects, so I'm believing I'm going to have to ask everyone one more time just to make sure it's clear that if they don't respond, their data will be going public. Here are some of the data products we have on our site, our OTN portal, data portal. We have a Google Earth PAMZ. If you bring it up, and of course you have Google Earth installed, it usually brings you to the Northwest Atlantic, except for the majority of our work is right now, but we are global. If you click on one of the project links, it will bring up a small metadata page, and if you click on more detail, it will bring you to its main metadata page on our website, which I'll show you shortly. You can also select stations, and when it brings up the line, for instance, this is the Halifax line, if you click on one of these squares, it will bring you the history, deployment, and the download history for that particular station. We have other pages. Basically, we just sort our projects by different methods. So this is called collaboration groups. Collaborators like ATAP. ATAP equals Acoustic Tracking Array Platform. It's in South Africa. Another collaboration group is DFO Canada. And just different ways of sorting our collections. You can just move by alphabetical order by the collection code. I believe there's 202 of them. You can also list contacts, and a list of projects that they're involved in, and you can email them by clicking on the link. So we're trying to make it all open, accessible, people can talk to each other easily. Here's a metadata page for the OTN Strata Wanda Fuka line. One of the things you can do is under the taxonomic coverage, for instance, you can click on a scientific name. It will bring you to our by species page, which you can see all the other projects that are involved either in tagging or detecting or both of that species. And if you click on the worms button, it will bring you to the World Register of Marine Species page for that species. Similarly, if you go down further on the metadata page to descriptive keywords, you can choose an instrument, acoustic transmitter, a V16C, to temperature. Again, you can see why the projects are using that equipment. You Google it, and hopefully the top link will be the one to the vendor so you can get information on the equipment being used. We also have, again, on the metadata page, there's a section called Related URLs. Beside there is Get Public Data. So, for instance, stations. If it's a deployment operator, they're putting out acoustic receivers. There's a KML that you can click the link to, and for that array, it'll bring up in Google Earth that particular array only, and then again, you can click on one of those stations, and it'll give you the information for that station, the deployment history and download history. But you can also download a CSV for all of the stations in that project. We also have sort of new, now it's 6 months old, that we started releasing the animal metadata using the IUS OTN developed acoustic animal telemetry standard that I'll show you a page on near the end. Again, under Get Public Data, it's a tracking project. It will have animal KML, and you bring that up, it'll show you where they were released. And if you click on it, again, you get all the metadata for that animal. This is also downloadable on the CSV. There are many, many, many fields in this standard that we developed because we were trying to accommodate for OTN, OPIS, as well as IUS's requirements. So it's very busy, but I mean, the worst that happens is you get rid of the fields you don't want. The other thing we provide are mystery tags, and that is basically the tags that have been detected that we do not have any animal information on, no release, we don't know who owns it. These are kind of things we try to do with Bemco, who is the industry partner for most of this equipment. We will tell them that we have detections, and they will contact the owner because they know who it is, and let them know that if they want our detections, they should contact us. And that it's not working as well as we would have liked. We're still lacking in a lot of, as you can see, a lot of tag information. We sort these by, we only provide the tag ID. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. We only do these by ocean, region, and collaboration groups. So you're not going to see that this project detected these mystery tags. What you're going to see is that this project that's in this ocean region included these tags. So that we were trying not to give away too much information so that people still have to come to us so we could share. We also have a single page with all of them there. We also have a single CSV that includes every mystery tag. You can either click on it and display it in your web browser and then do the find and type in the tag ID you're looking for. But you can also download it as CSV and use Excel to do finding. And so if someone has lots of tags they want to search, they'll probably find a mechanism for loading it into their database and figuring out if we have their detections. We also have all public data, so it's a single link. It has all of the public data on one page, so that instead of going to the individual metadata pages by product, by collection, or project, you can see that these projects have data. Like some of them don't have data. You would have to go to the metadata page and go, oh, there's no data. This way you have them all on one page, and also there's these two links to mystery tags at the top that will bring you to the bottom of the page, where you'll find all the mystery tags again. So we're trying to publish this. We're trying to make it public information out there so that people whose tags we're detecting will find out about it and will get in contact with us. We also have WMS Get capabilities. All you do is you left click, you right click and copy this and paste it into your favorite GIS software, and you will have access to our layers. Now our layers are exactly what we use to create our KMZ and our CSV and KML products. They're all public, they're on our GL server, and if you know how to use it, if you're a GIS person, you're going to be able to access it directly. We've also started development of an OTN toolbox. This is fairly new. Currently, I only have the original request was to have a false filtering tool, so that based on some algorithm that somebody decided on, we can go through a file of detections and label some as possibly false. No one ever knows with any fact certainty that they are false or not. And then the PI gets to look at the file of suspected false and decide whether they want those filtered out or not. And then we have the filtering tool. And we also have an interval data tool so that you can actually get the distance and the speed of an animal between station detections so that you can decide as a PI whether that is reasonable or not. We also have the restricted data download. So this is where we put the detections of the animals as we find them. So every time there's any new detections found, they get posted on the PI's repository folder. This folder requires login and permissions to that folder. So again, if they go to their metadata page and related URLs, you can go get detection extractions. It'll make you log in and take that PI to their repository folder that is filled with matched by year to animals. Detections from all receivers in the OTN data warehouse will be given to the trackers. So the deployment operators will only know that we have tags. They won't know who the tracker is or what animal it was until they get permissions from the actual owner of the tag. Some other issues that is outside of how difficult it is making data public with everybody with different feelings, trying to figure out what products people want without. Anyway, part of the problem is we need a broader uptake of the data. It's out there, we keep advertising it, and we're making more and more publicly available. One of the things we had to do recently was change the title from OTN Members Portal to OTN Data Portal, so it's to clearly state that they did not need a membership login to get access to our public data, because that seemed to be an issue. Visualization analysis is something we really have to start working on now. We do have a team, OTN for that. Who just started ramping up. So as we have products available, we are going to release them on our website and have the PR person advertising. Again, I mentioned the regional nodes. It's a long process. Interoperability with other large national and international networks that I use, and I'll have it on the last page. We're working on the AA2, the Animal Acoustic Telemetry Standard, is in the hopes that we'll be able to exchange the data with US IUs. Which could only move towards us sharing with IMOS, which is in Australia, because they also have a similar system that we should be able to connect to. Collaboration with researchers and development of oceanographic data integration with animal movement is a biggie. That's the real visualization thing that everybody's looking for. And we're hoping to find someone who can do that. And access to data for the mystery tags is time-consuming, as mentioned, but it's ongoing. We'll keep trying. The OTN data portal, this is something we recently had to add. An HQP had an article that was going to get published by Molecular Ecology, but only if there was an actual existing link to the data publicly available. So we made this new page called Publication Data Repository, and that satisfied the publications, and so he's now going to have his data up there. We also have some external access to data. Though I haven't mentioned it before, we do have some oceanographic data, and I'll just briefly mention that. Benthic pods are instruments that are stored, the data stored in a Storex. It includes the pressure sensor, oxygen, and connectivity and temperature sensors. We have an OTN glider group, and they're hosting all the oceanographic data, so we asked them to take on benthic pod data because it's in their arena. Oh, and the benthic pod data is actually, I should have said, is processed by Fisheries and Oceans Canada, because they're the ones with the knowledge and expertise in doing that. We also have glider tracks and data visualization. You can see that they collect other information besides tags when they're out. So there's temperature and salinity, and they actually have a live website. You can actually see the data as it's coming, but it's only the low resolution. But if you go to the website and click on any of these bars on their mission over time, it'll bring you to the page for that mission and show you the data. They're still trying to get to where you can download data again, and that's coming soon. Sustainability, we had to sign an agreement with Fisheries and Oceans Canada Integrated Science Data Management before the Canadian Foundation for Innovation would actually approve the final funding. We also make our data available in the Ocean Biogeographic Information System, which is what's on the right here. We're actually using OBIS Canada's GBIF integrated publishing toolkit to actually publish the data ourselves through OBIS Canada. On our data portal, we also have published to OBIS, so you can actually see which ones are already out there. You click on their link, and it will bring you to that data set. And also, if you click the little I information dot and the OBIS metadata, which is what it'll bring up. It'll bring a link back to our metadata page for that project. And this was the last thing I was talking about, the animal acoustics telemetry standard that we worked on with IUs. Was announced at this poster presentation last month. And at the 5th International Biologging Symposium, as a global ocean observing system, we have accepted to adopt the Animal Acoustics Telemetry Data Convention, which is a solution reconciled by U.S. IUs and OTN and Australia's Integrated Marine Observing System. The idea was to facilitate data exchange between data centers, uniting oceanographers and trackers, and we're hoping that this is going to proceed soon. It's a very exciting project, and it should facilitate some of the visualization. And that's all I have. Thank you for allowing me to present.
Thank you, Lenore. That was very interesting.
Thank you.
You guys have obviously collecting a lot of data, and it's great to see all the services and products that you're working on. So at this point, I think we will open it up for questions. I would ask people to, if they have a question, do it through chat first so we can call on you. But if that isn't working for you, I'm going to ask Jackie to take everybody off mute so you could just ask the questions. So I've got an initial question for you, Lenora. Do you, can you track and see how much access people are, or how often people are using your web services, the web mapping services? And
yeah, we're using Google Analytics, and we're developing a dashboard that will be more easily accessible for people to get that information. Mostly headquarters, but internally.
Okay, great. And do you get the sense that people are using those services more, or kind of individually downloading data through some of the download functions you have?
I think it's really hard to say, but
Sure.
you can always tell when one of us has gone somewhere international to do a presentation, because we'll suddenly have a big bang of hits and people, downloading our data. And we were on Rick Mercer 2 nights ago. Rick Mercer did a report on Ocean Tracking Network, and we had like 40 times more people than we've ever had on our website. So it depends. And I'm hoping as we get more products and advertise, especially visualization, that it will go up. But it's fairly consistent. We have, I don't know, 100.
Oh, and worse than glorious bastards.
Oh, really?
Great. All right, now I want to see, does anybody else have any questions for Lenore?
Well, this is Lou speaking. Am I coming through?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you, Lou. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Lenore.
Hi.
Hi. This is.
How are you?
Oh, I'm still kicking. I'm doing fine. Thanks.
Good.
I have a different sort of question because I've lost a bit of contact. Can you fill us in on the people side of things? Who within OTN is doing what, and your contacts and liaison with OBIS Canada and DFO, just the people with whom you're working.
Okay, so I'll have to add this to here. We have a public relations website as well as our member site that shows who's doing what in OTN headquarters. So the executive director, Fred Worski, our project leader, Tess Morton, Sarah Iverson is the lead scientific PI. Our data management is myself as director. I have a programmer, a modeler, and a website developer. So there's 4 of us in the data center. And a half person who helps with the data acquisition is Susan Defoe. Susan Defoe also helps with the technical team. So we have 2 OTN technicians who actually go out and maintain the lines and help other groups that are maintaining them on our behalf learn how to do it. And Susan spends more than half her time ordering equipment and shipping it around the world so that the technicians have what they need when they go. And we have our administrative assistant, Tracy Rounds, and the OTN Canada Network Manager, Kyle McKenzie. And we have 300 HQP. We have 200 projects with about 100 DIs, visual investigators, so there's a lot out there in the network. With OBIS, I'm in contact with Mary Kennedy and Ward Appleton. Mary Kennedy was the OBIS Canada No manager, but she's now retired.
Oh, she's still the manager.
She is, but she isn't. Tobias Spears has been named the manager.
Tobias?
Tobias Spears by DFO has been named the no manager for OBIS Canada. He used to be my boss. Speaking of which, I resigned from the federal government 2 weeks ago, so I am no longer a DFO contact.
Oh, you followed Bob's tracks.
Much earlier than he did. Yeah, so Bob retired, and I'm the Director of Data Management. And OBIS and DFO. Well, we have probably at least a dozen projects in OTN that are OTN funded projects that are with DFO. So we have constant contact with scientists there.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Lenore, I've got another question. Nobody
Yeah?
else has a question. Do some of the tags record oceanographic data?
So there's two types of answers to that. There's some tags that actually ping oceanographic data to the acoustic receivers. So
Okay.
it'll ping its ID and it'll ping a value, a measurement that it's made. But those are very expensive, so there's not a lot of them in use, but I mean the acoustic receivers are quite capable of storing that information. But there's also archival tags, which literally just archive the data within itself, and then it has to pop off the animal and make it to the surface and communicate to satellite, where it will offload all the data.
Okay. Does the oceanographic data get stored in a different data management system than the tracking data, the tagging
Yeah, so
data?
that's what I was trying to show on the glider site. All the oceanographic,
Okay.
all our oceanographic data is going to go to the glider site.
Okay.
So it's and they already have the database developed for holding oceanographic data and the processes for providing it on the web. So we asked them to take over ours as well, and they are part of OTN. So.
And I think I saw, will you be developing tools that will allow the integration of the oceanographic data and the tracking data?
We're trying. We have Diego Aguero. We have some people who are part of the OTN Visualization Analysis Group, the small group, and they're just really starting to ramp up with Joanna. I lost part of her name. Joanna Mills. She's a statistics person here at Dalhousie. And Ian Johnson, who used to be with OTN, used to be a DFO with Bedford Institute of Oceanography, is now in Australia. But he still has contact here, and so I mean, they're just starting to ramp up. They're trying to figure out the right state-based modeling tool to use to be able to start this. And Diego is working on finding all the oceanographic data that's available publicly, because it's various locations throughout DFO and NGOs, like the State Boards, Global Observatory, that kind of thing. And that's what his project is to be able to link the tracks with that oceanographic variable. And some of it's modeled, right? It's not all, you don't have data for every second. But he's trying to work on that. It's not simple, so. When we have it, that's the thing, is I'm going to get our PR person to really push it out there and announce it. I think that will really spark everyone's interest.
Great, thanks. I think there's a question from Andy Sharon.
Hi, Andy. I can't hear him.
I don't hear him either. Let's see, it looks like he's on mute, but
Yeah.
Jackie, can you unmute Andy? Although I'm not even sure he's connected.
Work now?
Oh, now it works. We can
Oh,
hear you.
okay. I thought I'd put in the audio pin, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, Lenore, OTN, you and your team have done a great job with the data management area for this research network. I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you if you had any general comments about data management for research data overall, or what kind of initiatives might be out there that you guys are leading on, but others could follow.
That we're leading on.
Well, no, you're leading by example, I guess. I'm not saying, yeah.
And I know USIUS is trying very hard to get all their data together and out, and we're trying to work with them too. No. I think we're waiting for the government to decide what they're going to, or actually for the funding agencies to decide what direction they want to go. In the meantime, we're going to try to release as much as we can when we can.
Okay.
How about you, Andy? Are you aware of any?
Pardon?
How about you? Are you aware of any initiatives?
Well, yeah, the same sort of kind of thing that you mentioned. There was the whole research summit coming out of National Research Council that seems to have gotten stalled in terms of, and I don't know, Tom, whether there's what's happening in the U.S. on this subject.
And I did attend their biological data system. We did a webinar on how to get into their new system, but I couldn't quite grasp how it worked, and I don't know if it's stalled now too or not.
Yeah, and Neopar had that. You and I were at the meeting in Montreal. We're sort of talking about a data management community of practice for ocean observing systems, and we haven't seen much movement on that yet either.
No, it's on my whiteboard. I'm waiting for the report.
Yeah.
Everything just takes longer than we wanted to, basically. Well, how do I get this back? You guys want the screen back? No?
So Andy, this is Tom. I'm sorry, I'm not up on the sort of the latest developments in the data management, specifically in this area.
Right.
But you know, we could, if there's interest, we could get somebody from the IUS office to give a webinar at some point about what's happening within IUS and some of the other regional associations.
Right. That might be a useful thing. We could look for somebody to talk on the Canadian side too, maybe.
Okay, well that's definitely something that we could consider.
Yeah. And if we can get that report and more of those contacts, we can probably find someone in Canada.
Oh, why don't we get somebody from Neopar to report on the community of practice meeting?
That's a good idea.
Tom, I'm going to send you an email and with a contact to ask about that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. So, unless there's any other questions, I think we will stop the webinar now.